Hello, everybody, and you're very welcome to Successful Perspectives. Successful Perspectives is when we deep dive into the topic of leadership with one of the leaders from our very selective network, Boardroom by EMIR. And for this occasion, I am delighted to be joined by Mamoun Hmedan, who is the Global Chief Commercial Officer at Wego. He is also the Managing Director for Middle East, North Africa, and India. Wego, of course, is the largest booking platform for travel here in the Middle East and in APAC. Mamoun, you saw me yesterday, but it's great to see you here today virtually as well. Thank you so much for your time. It's wonderful to have you.
Thank you, Trevor. Always pleasure to see you. Pleasure to be part of EMIR, and thanks a lot for the opportunity.
So I've had the pleasure of getting to know you over the last few years, and I've also seen your very successful rise in your career as well, which has been great to see. When you think about that kind of rise in your career that you've seen, and you think about your leadership philosophy, what would you describe as the main tenets of your leadership philosophy?
Well, I think, it's a very good question. I would say, generally, Trevor, I'm a big believer in delegation in general. I do think that the true leader is the person who will be able to strategize and set up the big goals of the business, and then try to build a structure that he thinks that will support achieving those goals. And the key thing is building a strong team with the right set of talents and a proper maturity level within the team, that he can basically delegate most of the tasks into the team, give them the trust, support them, back them up when needed, and then I believe they will all excel. If there is no learning curve, I would say, in everyday routine that you come to office, even as a manager, if you're not learning from the team. And this is not a cliche, this is a real thing. Yeah? If you don't hire people that they know more than what you do, then I think there's a problem there.
For sure. Do you think, because I know from communicating with you guys over the last few years, we've all been through an incredible time with COVID, which is great that seems to be, at least in terms of the imposition on travel, etc., that seems to be moving behind us. You've gone through an incredible journey through COVID as an organization. You obviously, as a result of that, have gone through an incredible journey as a leader. And did that give you time to pause and reflect on this philosophy in terms of, as you describe, setting a vision, setting big goals, getting the right people who know more than you, and then delegating and empowering them to do that? Is that something you've had time to reflect about, or that you often reflect about, or are you just too busy and you just move on to the next thing?
Yeah, see, generally we COVID for us was kind of a roller coaster and a journey, right? So pre-COVID, beginning of 2020, we were enjoying a very successful year in 2019, having big plans, lots of hiring, recruitment, all of that, right? And then the whole thing around COVID started to hit. The first shocking part, I would say, was when we saw that, okay, this is a China, Asia thing, we're safe, nothing is happening, business is booming. We had a very successful Q1, or good part of Q1. And then suddenly everything got paused altogether. And, it was an emotional, I would say, moment for like a good 2 weeks, where I personally kind of went into a very uncomfortable zone, I would say, where, okay, what's happening here? I don't know how to tackle this. I don't know how to manage this. Luckily, we've got a very supportive board. We've got a very supportive CEO that basically could really take the leadership in there, I would say. And the number one decision that I'm so proud of that the company have made at that time, that we're not gonna terminate people. We're not gonna let people go. We will navigate through this together. As we saw the good days, we wanna be ready to navigate through this issue together. there was a pay cut, there was some actions, of course. It was a tough period, definitely, but at least we made a decision, and I think it was the very right thing that we keep the team in place. Did that change the way we look at things? Yeah, definitely, absolutely. On the good side, actually, we became more product savvy altogether across the company, because in the busy days pre-COVID, commercial, marketing, everything was happening here on the market level, I would say, and product was happening first on the global level. And there was like easily distinguished between the two teams, I would say. During COVID days, everybody had a close look at the product. Everybody contributed with their own experience, and we fast-tracked many of the projects that we had in the pipeline before, and we came out with a way better product, I'd say, post-COVID than what we had. We wanted to keep the communication going with our customers. We're a sizable business here. We've got 40 million plus app downloads, so those are actual people with apps that they are used to use across the region. So we decided to keep going, keep talking to them, keep the dialogue, keep the social media channels active, and that helped a lot. We work a lot with many NTO, national tourism offices, and ministries of tourism around the world, and we started talking to them just to bring content, whatever content, and just to keep the sentiment of travel. That one day when COVID is gone, you're gonna go and enjoy those destinations. I think that kind of changed the whole. Back to your original question, that changed the whole way we look at things, and those are the learnings I'd say we took with us post-COVID. That we become more product and customer focused rather than anything else. And based on that, the whole thinking about the business growth and the opportunities today are tailored around that part of the business.
Yeah, because when you go through something like that, especially in the travel industry more broadly, travel and tourism, when you go through something like that, which has been unprecedented in our lifetime and certainly in our careers, and hopefully we don't ever see anything like that again in our careers, it's hard not to be reflective. It's hard, that what a test of leadership. And I just wonder on that point, when you look over that journey and you look over your career and your life more broadly, do you feel that you were always a natural leader, that you were, destined to get into this position where you would be leading a lot of people in the region? Or was it something that you had to work at? Is it something that you had to develop more yourself?
Well, I mean, to be honest, I would say it's a mix of both. So I am one, I would say I consider myself one of the lucky ones that, I started my serious career, I would say, with a very big organization, which is Audi, Volkswagen Group, right? So I came from a very, very well-established organization where, you go by the book with everything, pretty much, right? A very, very German way. And then when I started to see the rise of the digital side of the business at that point in time, I thought, okay, of doing that sort of career shift, and get myself into some digital players at the time. So I entered that space in the Middle East when it was really, really young, and the number of strong talents, I would say, within anything to do with media, with advertising, with even the tech side of things, locally, plus all the websites, and those were less than 50, I would say. 50 publishers, 50 products. Souk.com was there, brand new. Sukkar was there, which got sold to Souk afterwards. So very, very few of those started as an e-commerce and the players. Few publishers, the EMIR Info, if you remember those guys, and some of the others. So collectively, I think total skillful digital people, I would say, were around 100. And I just came naturally one of those, from day one. I was counted as one of those. And that kind of gave me an opportunity to start a little bit on the mid to high level career from the beginning, right? Within the organization I joined at that point of time. So I became a manager responsible of a team and people like month 3 or month 4, because it's a startup and started to grow, and I think they could see that I could lead. So yeah, so I had a good chance, I would say, or quite a lucky journey with that, where basically I got the chance to experience what a leadership would mean. Did I have it before? To be honest, Trevor, I really don't know. I remember being a manager, or having a team, and all that stuff. Yeah, I always had an opinion, I would say. I always had a point of view. I always had something to tell my manager. Or I've never been that silent employee that comes and goes and almost not felt within the organization. I remember that I used to say what I think of.
Wonderful. Do you think that when you think over the arc of your career and that time frame, do you feel that the essence of leadership is shifted quite a lot? There's a responsibility, obviously, for a leader to create a culture within an organization. Now there's also a responsibility for a leader to have more of a social impact, and of course there's the responsibility on the leader to deliver on business results, so you're able to do all of those things. What's your take on that, and how have you seen it shift, if at all?
Yeah, of course. I mean, lots of changes, right? I mean, for me, if I want to talk about my journey with Wego, right? So when I started, as a GM at that time for Wego here, the team, including myself, we were 4 only, right? So 4 of us trying to grow, trying to do something, trying to understand the travel space, because I'm not coming from the travel business background. And yeah, I had lots of support, of course. I had lots of forgiveness for many mistakes I've done around that time, definitely. But the beauty of it, that the overall online travel, I would say globally, was at the rise around those days. We're talking a decade ago, like 10 years ago. And we just got into the same journey like everywhere else. So Expedia was kind of booming, Booking.com was booming, Booking Holding, getting listed, all this stuff. And we were kind of, a smaller version of those within this smaller market, I would say. So with the time, we started to grow. We started to add more people into the team. We started opening offices around the region. And today we're talking about, at least, regionally, we have around 120 people altogether between Egypt and Dubai and India and Saudi. So within that, yeah, lots of things change, right? I mean, I had to put myself in a position where I need to meet officials, I need to, attend cocktails, I need to go and do lots of speaking, lots of events, lots of media, interviews. I think that was a challenge at the beginning, until it became kind of comes naturally and became part of the job. And yeah, I see always and then we started inserting the same sort of model within the organization with the senior members of the team. So we started educating them, training them to be able to handle media, to do some of the speaking. And yeah, I think we're a very active organization today. And everybody knows that part of that leadership role that you will have, or part of the bigger title you're going to get, you need to have that social responsibility and many other stuff. Adding on top of that, we're kind of trying to enforce some of the habits today according to what's happening around the globe, right? So that's another area. So we're trying to go as sustainable as we can within the office. So we contracted a recycling company that comes and collect all the paper or all the documents and recycle everything plastic. We're cutting on plastic as much as we can. We're contributing into lots of CSR activities happening around the same thing, trying to educate the team and get them more to be responsible from that perspective. And actually, we're still relatively a small team, but we're making good progress with that.
And it's a great success story. And I guess, there's the social impact for sure. But when you think of the success story of your organization, right? And then you think of being in the middle of, the worst industry that could be impacted by COVID. and being in a position not to terminate contracts during that period of time. That must have been very difficult, but that's also the benefit of working for a company that has that type of vision. And obviously I know your global CEO, Ross, as well. I was messaging him this morning, actually, coincidentally. And that's the advantage, you know, organizations, your organization is a great success story. It's grown in different ways, and it's having more of a social responsibility and working on sustainability, etc. But when you think about it, being in a position where you don't let people go during the worst crisis that we're ever going to see, that's leadership. You know, it's a difficult thing to be able to do, but I think that's a great reflection on the company. Last question before we move on to our rapid fire round, and that is, when you think over the course of your career again, what do you feel is the best piece of advice that you've received, and what would you share to perhaps people that are on the ladder up in their career?
To be honest, I had too many, right? But because, you know, again, it's been years working with, you know, brilliant people like Ross and, you know, everybody I worked with before as a manager, as a boss. But I think, see, one of the things that I really appreciate and I like, you know, and I keep on remembering, when I started my career with Audi back in the days, you know, I joined the sales team at that time. So we're selling cars basically. And I remember seeing some of those oldies, I would say, you know, those who were doing the same job repeatedly for years. And they got really up to a stage where they were really bored of doing anything of that. So they were kind of making fun of all the customers. So it was like very much a habit to say, like, yeah, look at this silly one. Yeah, this one's asking about this silly question, these kind of things. So I went to my manager at that time and I wanted to ask him about something really strange question I received from a potential buyer, a customer. I went to him and I said, yeah, I have a weird guy downstairs asking me this question. And they said, what did you say? I said, yeah, I have a weird guy. I said, the first thing, if you want to succeed in your life, you love your customer. You know, respect your customer, because if you respect your customer, it means you respect your time, because you're here for a reason, right? You could do anything else. And to be honest, that sticked around all over my career life, I would say. I always, because it happened to be always in the B2C side afterward, right? Even when I shifted into the digital side, I always had to deal with consumers. And yeah, I don't want to repeat a cliche, which is customer always right, but no, I would say this always rings a bell and comes back in my head, that to succeed in a B2C business, number one you need to do is to respect and like that customer, no matter what they say, no matter what they do, no matter what they make. I think that kind of defined the way I looked at things later on. You know, the moment we got into critical mass reach within the region, we have so many customers, so many issues. We're an aggregator, as you know, so we're in the middle always. It's not always our fault, but still customers trust us and come back to us. And this kind of a message I make sure I deliver to every team member. He joins us or she joins us every time they do. I have to make sure that they keep this in mind, because they chose to work for a business which has a direct relationship with consumers. So that's kind of came in mind at the moment.
I love it. It's a great point, especially from the perspective of, you know, you're the one investing your time in this. Your customer is a reflection of the energy that you're putting every day. Mamoun, thank you so much for your time. It's always great to talk to you, and thanks for sharing your insights. Congrats on all your success, and I wish Wego the best of luck. It's great to see you guys coming out of the pandemic so strong, and thanks so much for sharing your time.
Thanks so much, Trevor. Thanks a lot. Thank you.